Hello, I'm General Stephen Whiting, the commander of United States Space Command.
We got a quick alert, sir?
Where?
Pacific. SPS-1 detected ballistic launch.
That's right. Yes, sir. We're seeing everything.
Track on scope.
Now,
Vector 42.710, 137.14. Launch azimuth 9.25 degrees. Elevation angle 66.79 degrees. And by for possible intercept. Copy that.
The 49th Missile Defense Battalion is part of the Army National Guard. How does Space Command work with the Joint Force in missions like launch detection?
Well, Space Command at its heart, we're a joint organization, and our entire mission is focused on taking inputs from all the military services as well as supporting the entire rest of the Joint Force. So missile detection is one of our nation's most unique military capabilities. In fact, I like to say it's one of the defining features that distinguishes the U.S. military from any other military in the world, that we can detect a launch from anywhere on the planet with high assurity of where that came from and where it's going, and provide that information out to our national leaders. And so that's something we're very proud of, and it's something that other militaries can't do.
How early can we detect a missile launch with today's sensors?
Well, you know, almost any question you ask in a military context, the answer is, it depends. But what I can say is it's in near real time, because as soon as a missile is launched, that rocket motor burns very hot, very bright, and our satellites that sit 22,000 miles above the Earth's surface can instantly detect that, and then we begin an assessment process that ultimately results in that information going to our national leadership and then out to all of our fielded forces.
What is Space Command's role in missile detection?
Yeah, our role is to provide the initial warning of a missile launched anywhere around the world. And we have the assets to do that. So we have the satellites that I just mentioned. We also have the large multi-story tall radars that we call upgraded early warning radars that sit around North America to do that missile detection. And you know, the House of Dynamite movie got a lot of the look and feel of how detection is done right, but they did, for entertainment purposes, collapse organizations. And so we didn't see this play out in the movie, but Space Command provides the information to the commander of NORAD and U.S. Northern Command, who then assesses that information and provides his assessment to the President, to the Prime Minister of Canada, to our fielded forces of whether we're under attack.
Sorry, what's happening? We have an update. Current velocity indicates that the object will go suborbital. Current flight trajectory is consistent with impact somewhere in the continental United States. Holy shit.
What does it mean for a ballistic missile to go suborbital, and how does detection change?
Yeah, when we say a missile is going to be suborbital, what that means is it's on a ballistic trajectory. And if we all think back, and I know this is scary, but our 8th grade math and trigonometry, a ballistic trajectory follows a parabola. And so what that means is when one of our satellites or radars detects a missile launch, we can with great assurity tell where that parabola started, so what its launch point is. And by the way, in the movie where they couldn't figure out the launch point, that would never happen. We would know with high assurity exactly where that launch came from. But you know, that indicates how important space is, that they have to kind of make this fundamental flaw in the movie's logic so that all the rest of the logic can start to play out. But that also means we can tell where it's going to impact. So in the movie, if the ballistic missile had gone orbital, that means it's placing a satellite in orbit. It wouldn't have been a missile threat against North America. But as soon as they assessed that it's suborbital, that means now it's likely an attack missile that's trying to target a location in the United States.
The job is not to solve the puzzle, it is to find the pieces, send up the chain. Okay? Principals need hard facts, not speculation. You find those, you raise your hand, speak up.
Yes, sir.
U.S. Armed Forces have an extremely short window from detection to decision. What goes on in that window, and how does Space Command contribute to the pieces of the puzzle?
If you can imagine a ballistic missile launching anywhere around the world, as that rocket motor starts to burn hot and bright, well, our satellites are then detecting that, and in near real time, the well-trained guardians that we have that oversee those satellite constellations start to get indications and warning now that we have a missile launch. And of course, every year now there are hundreds and hundreds of missile launches. So they are very quickly assessing whether their systems are working properly, because as that data now flows up to NORAD Northcom and ultimately to the President and other international leaders in our fielded forces, we want to provide confidence levels on whether we believe it is actually detecting a missile and what kind of missile that is. And then all of that information goes to the commander of US NORAD and US Northcom, and then ultimately he makes the assessment of whether North America is under attack. So Space Command is really the eyes and ears of our deterrence posture, because we're the ones detecting when those missiles are launched and then providing our initial assessment of whether we're accurately tracking an actual missile.
Why is speed so critical to decision making?
Well, we want to preserve the ability of our president and our other military leaders to have options and to make decisions. And so the faster we can make an assessment of a missile launch, then that widens that window for the president and others to make decisions. And you see some of that play out in the movie in a very dramatic way, because of course it's a dramatic Hollywood film. But if we can't do that assessment because we're taking too long, well, then we're crowding the ability, we're shortening the time windows that our senior leaders have to make those decisions. So it's our job to get that warning and that assessment done as quickly as we can.
Danny, we gotta launch again, right? Pull it up. Come on, pull it up.
Target's past apogee and entering terminal phase, sir.
I have an updated flight detector, sir. Sure.
What does it mean for an ICBM to be past apogee and entering its terminal phase? And why is there a pause to make another attempt at shooting the missile down?
Yeah, apogee is defined as the point in a missile's ballistic trajectory that it is farthest away from the Earth. So that means now it's reached that top of the parabola and now it's coming back in toward the Earth. I think what the producers and directors of the movie were trying to demonstrate there is that missile defense is a very hard problem. We sometimes say it's shooting a bullet with another bullet. And so you have to make those decisions about when to launch your missile defenses in some very specific time windows, because at some point when the threat missile is inbound to North America, it flies past the point at which your missile defenses can be effective. And that's the tension I think they were trying to highlight in that scene, is we've got to make an assessment fast, we've got to make decisions fast so we can best defend the American citizens against these kind of threats.
And why does the last phase of a missile's flight matter so much for the defense timeline?
Well, we want to be able to provide as much warning as possible. We call that integrated tactical warning and attack assessment. And as a missile is getting into the terminal phases, we call it, of its flight profile, we want to be able to describe very clearly where that missile might be going. That enables warning for the population and then also enables us to best utilize our missile defenses.